Everyday superpower where we talk body language, non-verbal communication, attraction, repulsion, everything in between. One link down in the description will take you through to the Patreon as to where you'll watch me assessing, observing, and analyzing real life first dates. Okay, that's where the real game is. I'll break down the attraction and repulsion cues before your eyes. You won't forget them. That's the real game. Now, let's talk about a classic. Don't tell me this isn't a classic, people. Don't tell me this isn't a classic. We're talking about arm crossing, the body language of crossing the arms. Okay, this is a classic. Come on, this is a behavior that even the general public have some idea of understanding. Okay, so this can be a barrier of the arms per se. Could be a shield of the torso. All I can tell you that it's a crossing of the arms over the chest. It can, cross elsewhere. There can be a holding of hands across the genital area. There could be a crossing of the arms even behind the back in a regal sort of state. But we're not talking about that. What we're talking about is the arms folded upon the chest. And we can see that before us in the image, alright? So these arms are used as a shield to create a barrier between that individual and what is external of that individual. But pay attention to this, right? As the inside world and the outside world are alike. And even if that person is uncomfortable about thoughts internally, let's say, for example, you're sitting there now and you think back to your ex girlfriend or boyfriend and, a uncomfortable time you are having. You may find unconsciously you cross your arms, right? In reflection of how you feel. It creates a barrier, and my apologies, people, and it creates a barrier which may be aligned with, the wearing of glasses, creating an obstruction, a middleman of sorts between one person to another. A heavy jacket as opposed to it being removed and you exposing yourself in a more open manner. The arms showcase a degree of discomfort purely as it's closed body language, right? So the body closes in on itself. If we want to talk closed body language, this is really possibly the pinnacle of such, right? The most blatant, obvious, defensive behavior which you will find manifest in real time. You'll be speaking to someone who's having the best time of their life, but the moment you say, "Oh yeah, do you have that £10 you owe me?" and you see them close up in real time in defense. Now the problem being, when the body is portrayed in such a manner, the mind becomes somewhat deflective of suggestion and ideas from the outside world because the body tells the mind, right, protect ourselves, yeah? So when somebody is open, they are open to influence. When somebody is closed, a little less so. Yeah? Some people will tell you, "Oh, I'm just cold. I'm just," and don't get me wrong, that's could be true. Identify the surroundings. But when somebody is also fearful, there is a change in the blood flow of the body as to where the blood needs to reallocate itself to specific areas in order to escape this perceived threat. So, yes, they may feel cold, but they may feel cold due to the change of the body's pressure of blood and the internal mechanisms that is creating this experience, right? This is some real game here. This is how it works. So, whatever people tell you they are, yeah, believe them, but have a look deeper into why that reaction has been put into process. Yeah, of course, if you're dating and whatnot, it's to be taken into consideration that maybe she is cold. So, to put it quite simply, maybe it is in reference to the temperature. And then if you wanted to be a gentleman or so forth and wanted to relieve her of discomfort, you can at the very least offer to provide her, some cover and some warmth. Yeah? Or maybe an excuse to give her a little rub on the arms, warm her up a little bit. See where I'm coming from? It's defensive. And if we hear or think of something which is of distaste to us, something we find uncomfortable, our body will close up to shield ourselves from that so we don't continue taking in that stimuli. Yeah, this is what all of this closed body language is, whether they close their eyes, whether they cover their mouth, whether they retract their hands into their pockets, and so on and so forth, whether they zip their jacket up when they don't necessarily need to. This is all a retraction from the world that is creating this discomfort in this person. Yeah. Or their reality, their perceived idea of reality. The arms are shields. They will block ideas from entering. Okay. If you were a public speaker, you would want to not have this happen. Let's say, for example, you are speaking before a crowd of people. It may be in your best interest to have everyone collect a pen and paper, a pen and a notepad prior to their arrival or as they walk in the door. And maybe not so much for them to make notes, but more so to ensure that they have something to hold on to and can't, or at least have a little more so trouble crossing their arms as they sit. Yeah? Because then they will be more receptive to you, your ideas, and more engaged. That's facts. That's facts. This can be a literal item between us. So we'll do another video on like obstructions, but the arms can be replaced just as easy with a table between you, with a door between you, with an ironing board between you, with a you holding an object. So I need to get some sleep, don't I? So holding books upright, covering your chest, using that as a bridge from one hand to the other to create this defensive barrier. You think of a couple more, there's a myriad of different ways this behavior will manifest and try and disguise itself in order to be subtle, but it's a very bold statement. It's defensive and it's protective. And as far as the animalistic nature of it, if you were to take the evolutionarily, biologically sound route, you would say it's in defense of our internal organs. We need to conceal ourselves and cover ourselves from what we perceive as a threat, maybe even subconsciously, to ensure we are safe and sound. It's a survival mechanism. The first law of nature: survive, right? It holds our feelings inside. So let's say, for example, it might not be the world around you that is engaged it, but it's you yourself having to reserve and keep yourself at bay. If you have something you want to say and know you shouldn't say it, maybe you will symbolically withhold that information by holding it tight via this crossing of the arms. Yeah. Look at the hands. The hands may hold on to the arms, clasping and really solidifying the position and regressing that person to a childlike state as to where their parents used to hold their arms in that particular space. Look at the fists. If they are fists, if their fists manifest within this behavior, not only are they defensive, but they are aggressive. They may be withholding some serious volatile thoughts or intention. Always pay attention when you see fists in the world around you. We use our fists as weapons, alright? And especially from men. If you are a woman and you see the men around you sort of form this fist when talking about something. Pay attention. Like I personally don't like it because I see the meaning behind it. Whereas maybe before I didn't. The idea of a man punching an idea. Do you see where I'm coming from? Hitting his fist to accentuate an idea or banging his hand on a table. I find it incredibly aggressive and quite triggering personally because I see the aggressive release of energy that behavior is being utilized to express. Yeah. So it's defensive, could quite potentially be a hostile behavior. It's closed body language. What's the opposite? Opening the arms, showing the torso and the chest. Okay? Could be an indicator of disinterest within the dating world, yeah? So when you're going on a date and it's your first date and you're sitting across the table for it after you get your first drink, she may be there reserved, held back, leaning backwards with her arms crossed because you need to allow her to loosen up and become more open. Yeah? Might be stubborn. I am not budging. I have solidified myself in this defensive state. And that's some game. Check out the links down in the description. I'll see you next time, people. Peace.